Hello, dear students. A warm good morning to all our second semester MA English students, choice based credit system. Hope the voice is audible, the clear, you're ready with the session. Remember, so far, the last 2 days, I have taught you two writer. The one is the poet John Keats. I taught you Ode and Aggression on yesterday. And I also taught you the next paper, that is 19th century prose and fiction. I taught you Emily Bronte's Wuthering Heights. So, so this is the third paper you have here, that is 20th century English poetry. The so far you're acquainted yourself with the 19th century poetry, and you're acquainted with the 19th century novel. So now we have this paper, that is 20th century English poetry. So in this poetry paper, you have G.M. Hopkins, W.B. Yeats, Thomas Hardy, T.S. Eliot, Hardin, Lawrence, Dylan Thomas, Kipling, Philip Larkin, Thaddeus, and Simasini. So these are the 10 poets you're going to study in this entire paper. So the whole paper exclusively for poetry, the 20th century English poetry. Hope the voice is clear, and you can also send a message through the chat that yes, you are able to listen me clearly. So, what you have to keep in your mind when you read 20th century English poetry? These are the objectives that you should always keep in your mind, and before you read the poems, and you should understand this. So, the purpose behind introducing you the 20th century English poetry is to introduce the student, the learners, the social, political, and cultural milieu of the age, which means that you are understand the how these poets they represent the social, political, and cultural milieu, which is very important. And every writer they're influenced by this background. Dear student, sorry for the inconvenience due to the technical issues. I was saying that I'm going to teach you this session. Hardens. Good morning. Hardens. This unknown citizen. Unknown citizen. It is a very representative poem of the modern 20th century English poetry. So, Harden, he is the contemporary of T.S. Eliot. You know that T.S. Eliot is also introduced in the paper. So his poem, that is W.H. Harden's the poem "The Unknown Citizen." Much before I get into describe or analyze or discuss the poem, I must tell you some historical background of the text. What is this historical background? How does it connect with the poem? Remember, this is very important. Harden is like a T.S. Eliot has expressed the very spirit of the time in his poetry. So, like the T.S. Eliot does in his poetry, how he talks about the predicament of the modern people, the modern society. In the same way, W.H. Harden also deals with the same thing. So there are two important things that you have to understand when you read his poetry. The one, always keep in your mind, the number one. This is very important because when you write your answer to this question, when you talk about W.H. Harden, especially unknown citizen, these are the two things that you should always remember. Number one, the 20th century, because he belongs to the 20th century, ಇಪ್ಪತ್ತನೇ ಶತಮಾನದ ಕವಿ, the 20th century ushered in an era of moral perplexity and uncertainty. When we talk about modern 20th century, there are two things that we are confronted with. One is the moral perplexity. The moral morality and the ethics are completely ignored. There is not at all in prevail in the society, and everything there is uncertainty. So these are the two important things. And here, the rise of the scientific spirit and the rationalism led to the questioning of accepted social beliefs. So people are very much religious. The people are dogmatic. So the rise of this, the science, the rise of the scientific spirit, the new technology, new invention, it started to the question the basic concept called social beliefs. How far social beliefs are sustained in the age of science and technology on modernism. So these are the things that you should always remember. So in the matters of religion, it gave rise to skepticism. The people develop an attitude towards, they developed this skeptical, the doubtful towards everything. The modern man himself is not in a position to have a certain attitude. So here, W.H. Harden is indirectly criticizing the basic social beliefs, society. He's criticizing the totalitarianism. He's criticizing the kind of dominating the societal norms, the dominating government. So he's a modern man. He's really happy. He's really free. He is celebrating his individualism. When we talk about American literature, American ಸಾಹಿತ್ಯದಲ್ಲಿ ಒಂದು ಇಸಮೆ ಬಂದ್ಬಿಡುತ್ತೆ, the transcendentalism ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿ, which talks about the spirit of a modern man, which talks about the spirit of an individuality. So whereas in the 21st century, is the man free? So, what kind of man is he talking about? W.H. Harden, the unknown citizen. If you look at your syllabus, it is there in the block three. Yeah, in the block three, you have T.S. Eliot, W.H. Harden, and you have Lawrence and Dylan Thomas. So, in my lecture today, I am teaching you both the poems. One is the unknown citizen, and if by time permits, I will also teach you Dylan Thomas, the Fawn Hill. So another important thing is that the point number one, you should remember that how scientific spirit and the rationalism started to question the basic concept called social beliefs. The religious belief that the man has practiced so far, and then and how the people they've developed the attitude towards how they develop this skepticism, the doubtful towards the attitude towards everything. And another important point that you should also remember, Dickens and Thackeray, these are the Victorian novelists. Because after Romanticism, after 19th century, we have Victorian period, and after that we have 20th century modern literature. because that period of English literature, how it is started from a Renaissance period. After that, you have Elizabethan period, and after that you have the Restoration, and that how it the traverse the different facets of literary period, and after that Romanticism and Victorian literature, and then modern English literature. So, Dickens and Thackeray are both critical writers, but they criticize only a few evils inherent in the social system. If you look at Charles Dickens' novel, that is either David Copperfield or even another Great Expectation, and Oliver Twist, any other novels, he talks about the evil practices in the society, the his social system, in fact. So basically, they accept the way of life. By the end of the 19th century, the beginning of the 20th century, we find writers like Shaw, Wells, Galsworthy criticizing the very basics of the existing social, economic, and moral system. And why did I say all this? There is a purpose in it. What is the purpose? The purpose is the writer, especially when we talk about the Victorian and the 20th century writer, 21st century writer, they do this kind of a social, economic, and moral system. They criticize the basic existence of social, economic, and moral system. But whereas if you look at the Romanticism or Restoration, or you have Elizabethan literature, Shakespearean literature, and there you see the kind of a Romanticism, kind of the fictional world, or you can find how the writer, they celebrate the aestheticism in the sense art for art's sake. The literature is there for to enjoy. We don't have to construct or obstruct a proper meaning to it. But whereas when you talk about this Victorian and the 20th century literature, all the writers, including novelists, the dramatists, and the poets, they have this attitude to the question, they criticize the basic existence of social, economic, and moral system, whether people are equally treated socially, whether I mean all the property, all the money, the benefits of the government, economic, are distributed equal to the people. Otherwise, the moral system, and how far the people get the moral, and how people are get the justice in this social system, and in the justice level. So here, these writers, especially 20th century writers, they have this tendency to talk about in their literary text. So now, let me come back to this poem. Now I am coming back to the poem after a brief introduction about the poet, and the poem. So the unknown citizen. The name is not given here. We don't know who is he. He's just an unknown citizen. Then who is this citizen? This citizen can be anybody. The citizen can be anybody. We ourselves can look into this unknown citizen. Could be I, or could be you, or anyone. So here he is giving anonymity. Is giving anonymity in anonymous entity, because he can be anybody, XYZ. So every individual in this social system, in this modern society, is he really happy? Is he really free in this life? Otherwise, is he completely surrounded by the the shackles, or is binded by the societal norms or beliefs? Isn't it? For everything, we are not enjoying a life because we are scared by somebody else, scared by some social system, scared by somebody else. So in that condition, why people are living in that kind of the way of life? So there is a question, serious question, that raised by W.H. Harden in the poem. The unknown citizen, he is the ordinary average citizen in the modern industrialized urban society. This is a very important. Remember, the unknown citizen is the ordinary and average citizen. Is an ordinary average citizen, not the rich man. Is an average citizen in the modern industrialized urban society. So he is an unknown citizen. The poem is a satire on the modern craze for statistics. Every time, if it is an election, if it is some documentation, if it is everything for that matter, the man he is analyzed, the man is assessed, he only through the statistics. What is the statistics? We are given an epic card, we are given an other card, and where identity is there when the society, when the the statistics takes place, census take place. But despite of all that, such a responsible man, who Is he really happy? The modern man, he's measured and only through statistics. And but the question is he, how far he has given, how far he is given a justice in his way of life. So I should also tell you, the unknown citizen is a light satirical lyric. I told you it is a satirizing. There is a tone of satirical. There is a tone of satirizing. There is a tone of criticizing the entire evil practice of the society by W.H. Harden. It was first published in Listener, August 1939. This poem was published in a book called The Listener. So in August 1939. So it was published that was later included in the collected shorter poems. So all the collection poems of W.H. Harden called Collected Shorter Poems in 1950. It was included there. So it presents an ironical picture of a model citizen in a modern urban industrial society. I haven't gone through it the poem. ನಾನು ಇನ್ನೂ ನಿಮಗೆ poem teach ಮಾಡಿಲ್ಲ. I'm still giving you the introduction background so that you will understand authentic information about the poem. So I told you it's an ironical, the picture of a model citizen in a modern urban industrial society. In the modern in urban industrial society, how the life of a man, how the man is completely in the world of entanglement. He is not able to happy, otherwise his family or his way of life too. So the poem is the compilation. It's a record of details about the average man, written in a flat, matter of fact tone of a report. Okay, and now he works at a Ford motor factory. Yeah, he has the union membership. I told you that he works at the Ford Motors factory. He works there, and then his union membership, the newspaper he bought, all are listed in a manner of social survey, the questionnaire, and the various bureaucrats spies. So these are the little introduction about the poem, and I hello. ನಾನೊಂದು ಕ್ಲಾಸಲ್ಲಿ ಇದ್ದೀನಮ್ಮ, ಒಂದು ಕ್ಲಾಸಲ್ಲಿ ಇದ್ದೀನಿ, ಮಾಡ್ಲಾ ಆಮೇಲೆ ಯಾರು ಬಂದಿಲ್ವಾ ಎಕ್ಸಾಮಿನರ್ಸ್? So I kindly apologize for taking a call. It was an urgent call. So anyhow, so far I just described about the introduction about the poem. So now let me take up this poem, that is Unknown Citizen. So I told you that how does the unknown citizen represent? I told you he is an unknown citizen. Let me answer your question once I complete the poem. Okay, probably by the time I complete the poem, yourself will have an answer to the question. So I told you, unknown citizen. He represents the common man. The an average man, an average citizen. It can be anyone. So he's unknown citizen is not somebody who is authoritarian, otherwise totalitarian. No, he's a common man in a 20th century, and the way he has his his identity in in the statistics. It can be you or me or anybody. So it common is talking about such an unknown citizen, a common man. Is here W.H. Harden, he's highlighting, or he's talking about a common man's plight. So coming back to this poem, so I told you it is also a condition, the plight of a modern man. So So I have mentioned already that I'm teaching this poem. It is a 20th century English poetry paper, and then this is the block four. It's a block three, and where I'm teaching Harden, the unknown citizen. The what used to a student have to do is you are not supposed to ask this, the which paper, which block, all that. That you should have to, attend class from the beginning. And now what you can do, you write the title in a book, and once you attend the class, you can just go home and open the notebook, and you'll find all the details. All right. So I'm teaching a poem that is an unknown citizen, and this is the, now I am in the text. So, unknown citizen, this is the condition, the plight of a modern man. Okay. So this is how the poem begins with. He was found by the Bureau of Statistics. So the people, when they made a census, when they made visit to get his identity to mention in the statistics, he was found by the Bureau of Statistics. His identity is there as a man because he is a responsible citizen. Once against whom there was no official complaint, and he's a man, there is no complaint, there is no official complaint about it. That means he is an ideal figure, he is an ideal man, he's a very good person, he's a very responsible man. So unknown citizen, here there is not here the poet is not talking about a person in general. I know he's not talking about in a specific person. He's talking in general. He's talking about the entire clan of the modern man, the ordinary modern citizen. Okay, so he was found by the Bureau of Statistics to be once again one against whom there was no official complaint, and nobody had complaint about it, and there was no complaint registered on him, but which means that he performed his duty with utmost sincerely, with the utmost responsibility. So he's a very fair-minded person. He's a good person. There is no official complaint about him, and all the reports on his conduct agree. Whoever has given a report about him, they says his conduct is ugly because his attitude and his the performance or his the way of behaving and whatever is responsibility, everything has been completely performed well. He's accomplished his duty. So we are giving an impression, and that the poet is giving an impression that this man, an unknown citizen, he is perfectly the fine. His conducts are agree, and then that in the modern sense an old fashioned word, he was a saint. If you talk about the old fashioned word, and this man, he's a saint. He's a saint. They call him as a saint, which means that this man, he's perfectly all right. He's the good person. And now coming back to the further sentence. So he was a saint, which means he's a perfect citizen who upheld the values of the society. So I mean to say he was a saint, which means he's a perfect citizen and who upheld the values of the society in which he lived. So in the first paragraph, the early paragraph talks about, it gives a report that this man, he's an ideal figure. He's the best man. He was found by the Bureau of the Statistics to be one no official, once against whom there was no official complaint, and all the reports on his conduct agree, and that in the modern sense of an old-fashioned word, he was a saint, which means he's a perfect citizen who upheld the values of the society in which he lived. So now, from the beginning till now, you might have got an exact picture about this man. Hope I believe so. Now, come back to the second stanza. For in everything he did, he served the greater community. He was also the government servant. For in everything he did, he served the greater community. If he had to serve, he served with the greater community. He served the community with a greater responsibility in everything that he served, except for the war till the day he retired. And this man, this unknown citizen, can also be a soldier. He need not to be a common man. The unknown soldier can also be a soldier because who served for the community. You're getting my point. Other poets like the Wilfred Owen, and he is called as a war poet. Okay, and there are poets who talk about this soldier, who served for the nation's sake, for the well-being of the community. So here, we understood, except for the war till the day he retired, he was also a soldier, and he worked in a factory and never got fired. And he also worked in a factory and which never got fired, which means he was a faultless the worker. He was a faultless worker. He's a faultless, like we have, the faultless painter. Remember, there is one poem, Andre del Sarto, by Robert Browning. You have this term. So here is also this man. He worked in a factory and never got fired, and he was a faultless man. And you have to write all these lines in your examination. So that's the reason why I've been giving a minute detail about the poet, I mean about this unknown citizen. And then he worked in a factory and never got fired, and but satisfied his employers, the Ford's Motors Inc. That means he worked at a Ford Motor factory. I know he was a good person, and he satisfied all his employers, and whatever he had to give, and he did it, and he was a responsible person in his company also. Okay, so he can be an employer, he can be a common man, he can be a soldier. So the unknown citizen can be representing here the all, the common clan of men who is responsible. And despite of all that, how the society, how the government, how is it really happy? Is it the same responsibility reciprocated to the person? So yet he wasn't a scab or a odd in his views. And even when he approaches for some opinion or some, the kind of discussion, this man, he's very much is very much clear. He wasn't a scab or he wasn't a odd. The scab in the sense, someone who refuses to join a strike or a trade union. For example, if someone will ask you, hey, let us come and join the some strike or some kind of the societal benefits, or yeah, absolutely, if I put it in a one word, it's a strike, because you're demanding for some rights, right? So he wasn't a scab. He used to go with the people, and he used to he will never skip his duty. He would go and he attend, and he makes sure that yes, justice is given, the odd in his views. But you have to make sure in many people who they don't even take a part in terms of strike or for any kind of fighting for your own rights, that you we don't find in many people. So many people are a scab. Or so for his union reports that he paid his dues. And when I told you he had a one once he was got his union membership. He was also associated himself with a union membership. There, he paid all his dues. So whatever the financial dues, he had never, he had never withdrawn himself by doing all that. He paid his dues and he participated, and he completely, he's dedicated himself for all the well-being of his responsibility and his association. His union reports that he paid his dues, and our report on his union shows it was sound. That means when we talk about his association with the union membership, it was very sound, it was very good, people appreciated him. And our social psychology workers found, the people, as I told you, the social psychology workers found that he was popular with his mates and liked to drink. Even among his contemporaries, even among his friends, this man, he was a sociable man. This man is a sociable man. He is able to mingle with everybody and is sociable. And does he present set up promote the personality of individual? Okay, and does the present setup promote the personality of the individual? And and it's a very this question is very much pertinent, Jayashri, that you mentioned in your chat box. Does the present setup promote the personality of the individual? And I don't know, I can't say this, because ultimately what matters is how far your surroundings and the people who help you for your well-being, your development. Individuality certainly do it, because there are many good people, perhaps the writers. Otherwise, probably once we dead and gone, people talk about us. this was a man who lived well, and and otherwise the people around you will say that yes, this is an ideal man, he helped to the people needy. And there are people who put a good words about you. Probably it is beyond the description, but you are talking about the government does which promote personality of an individual, or it is a very very good question, I appreciate it. But it is beyond your I mean, what you can do it, you can expect some, you can't expect from society, or you can keep doing good things. Probably a fine day you will be blessed by the God. I think this is the world where we are scared for God, isn't it? So you keep, let us, every individual, every person keep doing good, and certainly good things do happen. So, for example, if you keep reading novels, if you keep reading very good books, if you keep reading the, it could be, yes, there are good books. As I taught you in the first semester, Bacon's two essays like Half Studies, Half Travel, and of another essay of studies, of friendship, and other is essays. You keep reading, the certainly you will understand and you enjoy the marvels of the books. So the an individual, ultimately he's the one who develop his own life, because you are the you are the one who throws a beacon light for your own life. So you are the torch bearer, you are the beacon light for your own life. And so keep doing good things and certainly do well. So I understood your questions and you think about it. Oh, and in a way I try to give substantiate reply. Hope you got that. Okay, that's nice. So I really appreciate such questions while discussing. Okay, instead of asking about the book, or unit, or there is this poem and all that. So are you good? It's a very pertinent question. I appreciate it. So that he was popular with his mates and liked to drink. So this man, he wasn't hesitated, and he would go to his friends and he meet with them, and he liked to have a drink also. That means he was a very sociable. And there are some people who those are very reserved. They don't go and mingle with people. But yes, you have to mingle with people. You have to be a sociable. Then you will understand you the in a way that helps you for your development as a better citizen, and you find a lot of solution for the problems. So I big probably teaching literature, I strongly advise everybody should be a sociable. Everybody must have a convincing attitude, like you have to talk with the people and develop an attitude towards to attitude towards, like what to accept and what not to accept. It happens when you mingle with the people. So that attitude one should develop. Probably after reading this poem you understand that. The press are convinced that he bought a paper every day. And this common citizen had a tendency to even to buy a paper and read every day. So when you talk about Unknown Citizen by W.H. Harden, it is a very remarkable and a very significant poem. Probably when people ask about talk about 20th century poem, the other the wasteland, and WB, I mean, AIDS, the second coming, and this poem Unknown Citizen, they are the representative poems of modern poetry. I told you that the wasteland by T.S. Eliot, and that it is talks about the heap of fragments, how the entire modern civilization has been degenerated, using a lot of allusions and symbols and images. He gives a very wonderful picture about the modern plight, modern condition. In the same way does WB Hates, and even he talking about the degenerations of modern civilization. ಎಷ್ಟು ಮಟ್ಟಿಗೆ ಒಂದು ಆಧುನಿಕ ಸಮಾಜ ಒಂದು ಅವನತಿಯ ಹಾದಿಗೆ ಹಿಡಿತಾ ಇದೆ ಅನ್ನೋ ಒಂದು ಚಿತ್ರಣವನ್ನ ನಾವು ಈ 20ನೇ ಶತಮಾನದ ಇಂಗ್ಲಿಷ್ ಸಾಹಿತ್ಯದಲ್ಲಿ ನಾವು ಕಾಣ್ತೀವಿ. That is, you will understand. So here, so he has the habit of reading a paper every day, and that is reaction to advertisement were normal in every day. So he would keep comment one or the other way about the advertisement that he's come across in the newspaper, which are there in the newspaper. Policies taken out in his name prove that he was fully insured. And this man, whatever the policies could be, like health, otherwise some insurance or whatever, they are insured. See, every detail that we are getting about this Unknown Citizen are completely perfect. Completely perfect man, and he's a very his family as well as society. Look at that. He's also doing well for for his own self. So there are such responsible people, and they're always they become an ideal figure to many people. There is a lot to learn from such people here. So what happened? The policies taken out in his name prove that he was fully insured. So he was fully insured, and his health card shows he was once in a hospital but left it cured. So when he was sick and he had been to the hospital, that also shown here, and his health card shows he was once in a hospital but left cured, and he was all right. He was cured his the sickness and all that, and he's a fine man. And then both producers, research and a high grade living, declared he was fully sensible to the advantages of the installment plan. This is another important. And here W.H. Harden giving a minute observation, the mining details about the unknown citizen. How does he give here? He was fully, both producers and research and high grade living declare. So what is this research and a high grade living? Which means they carry out the investigation to find likes or dislikes. So that research high grade living declared he was fully sensible. He was a sensible man to the advantages of the installment plan, the price paid in installment. For example, the policies that he has taken, the insurance that he had taken. So he never take any due. He would completely aware of all that, and he is a sensible man, and had everything necessary to the modern man. So whatever man, he had got everything. What else he had? He had got a phonograph. He has a phonograph with him. He requires a radio. He has a radio with him, and he has a car. Has the refrigerator. So I told that he has a refrigerator, and he has a car, he has a radio and the phonograph, and he has all the living thing for a modern man, whatever required. So he has all that with him. And next is our research into public opinion or content. So all the researcher who had gone to make some documentation about him are completely accepted. They're contented with content, in the sense they're happy with. So they are fine with it. That he held the proper opinion for the time of year, for every academic year, for every time of year. This man, he held the proper opinion, is fine. But despite of all that, W.H. Harden, he says that despite of all that, when that lines comes in the last paragraph. So the that he held the proper opinion for the time of year, and when there was a peace, he was for peace. When there was war, he went. And I told you, there are the unknown citizen can also be a soldier. The unknown citizen, he can also be the soldier. When there was a peace, he'll be at peace. And when there was a war, he went for war, because he would never withdraw himself from attending at a war, the battlefield. So he was a soldier. He was also a soldier. He went for war. And then he was married and added 5 children to the population. So the documentation says that this man, he was a married man, and he had 5 children to the population. So he has a 5 children, which are eugenist. That means the scientist says that was the right number of a present parent of his generation. The scientist, the eugenists say that the 5 children for a man, it is the right number for a parent in his generation for the 20th century. So there was a less people, and so the 5 members, is a right number. So he has a 5 children, and our teachers report that he never interfered with their education. So this man had never interfered with their education. He had given them a very good education. So, and our teachers report that he never interfered with their education. And was he free? Despite of all that, he has given good education. Despite of all that, was he free? Is man, do you think he's really free? He had to go to war, he had to do his duty. I just tell you one after another. So, was he free? Was he happy? The question is absurd. Had anything been wrong, we should certainly have heard. So here the poet is a very much skeptical in the fag end of the poem. It's an open-ended poem. And how does he say here? Had anything being wrong, how did the unknown citizen serve the greater community? So you're asking a question, and it's here. Yeah, for in everything he did serve the greater community. A greater community in the sense, the society or the nation, okay, for which he lived. The greater community, which means the society or the nation. So here it's a poetically has written the poetic term, the greater community in the sense it's a society or a nation. So for the nation, how did he serve? You use the word how the non-citizen serve the greater community because he is a soldier and he went for the war and he served to the entire nation. Isn't that, is it not true? Because as a soldier he served the great community, which means that he served the nation because he fights with the enemies in the war. And greater community, which also means society, he served the society in terms of his social responsibility, because social responsibilities are obligations. The nation greater community service is also obligation. As a soldier he has to go and work, he has to go and fight with the enemies, and as a a society, he has to perform his duty with utmost sincerity, isn't it? So in that way he served the entire greater community. Hope you got that, Jayashri. How did the unknown citizen serve the greater community? He served in two perspectives, and his responsibility towards the could be like the policies, or could be like insurance company, or be association, or it could be every I have given as an employer, the way he served his I mean head of an employee, the company, the way he treated his employers, and all that could be as a responsible father to father also. So all that, in a holistically looking at the issue, he served the greater community in all the sense. So, despite of all that, was he free? Was he happy? The question is absurd. And still, we have a question that, despite of all that, this man, is he free? Is he happy? And had anything been wrong? And we should certainly have heard. And this man, he's completely, the man with the flawless, and he is a flawless man, and he served all his duties, and he performed duty with the utmost sincerity. So now, here there is one question about it. So this entire poem. So now I repeat. This poem is the very much true in its nature and its approach. He's talking about the man, a common man, an unknown citizen, who is a responsible person in a country, and it can be a soldier, it can be anybody, an employer, or could be a but he's under the control of the totalitarianism, aristocracy. There are, because he this is the Western point of view. He's talking about the Western point. He's a Western poet. He's talking from the Western perspective. The But despite of all that, the how is the a man in the Western countries, they enjoy the personal freedom, whether he's he surrounded by, otherwise is he be tied by some shackles of the societal norms, beliefs. And it shows that this man in the 21st century modern man, in the world of urban life, the marketization, urbanization, this common man is not free. And I told you that all that from the beginning, in the statistics, he was found in the statistics, and there is no official complaint. The conducts are agree, and in the old-fashioned word, he's a saint, and he served the greater community. And then he never got fired, which means he was a faultless person. He works at Ford's Motor, and he wasn't a scab. And his union reports, it says that he paid no dues and whatnot, and he liked to drink, and he was a sociable person, and he buys newspaper every day, and he put his reaction to the advertisement, and the policies that he had taken on his name proved that he was fully insured, and he got the health card, had been to hospital, and this research the high grade living declared that this man is a very sensible and all the installment plan very well. And in a modern this man, whatever the required to a modern man, everything like a phonograph, a radio, a car, or a refrigerator, and everything that he had got. So the researcher into public opinion or content, that is the man with the perfectness. And then, and when there is a war, he went for war. When there is a peace at home, he would come and be there. And he is married and had 5 children. And then the scientists say that this is the right generation of population to this generation. And he all this is very important. And our teachers report that he never interfered with their education. He had never interfered with their education. That means that they have the right to take the whichever the course they want, and they have the right to select the course. And despite of all that, this is man, he's really free. Was he happy? And probably the man who is so responsible, doing his good performance in his society, they're always are targeted. They're always are the subdued. They're always the pressurized, not to celebrate their individuality. So what happened? So the poem echoes, or it reiterates, it reverberates. Hege pandre, was he free? Was he happy? The question is observed. So the entire poem, it is a bitter satire. This is the word that you all have to remember. This is a bitter satire on what? On the on what the so-called the totalitarian society. The totalitarian society, which means which controls over the lives of the citizens. Remember, there are some country, for example, if you look at the Russia and the way the administration is there, and Japan and many other countries. I don't have to specify the countries. So where a governance, where the government which try to control over the lives of the citizens, they have to set free the lives of the spirit of an individual, but it doesn't happen. They're succumbed. They try to succumb their voice, and they try to smother in terms of to degrading them. Otherwise, they're not to encourage for the personal growth. So this poem, it is an attack, it is a satire on what you called as the totalitarian society. And which means the totalitarian means it's a control over the lives of the citizens. And then what happens further? So there are two. Yes, as he's Odin, an interpreter of the modern world. Yes, that's what I've been saying from the beginning. My introduction for almost 10 minutes is only on how W.H. Auden he interpreted the modern world. Yes, true. And then there are two voices in the poem. I must tell you, there are two voices in the poem. One is that of a state official or a bureaucrat who is only concerned with the facts and figures, and for whom a citizen is only a number in a file. The voice number one, because there are some bureaucrats. For that bureaucrat, this man is only there in a number. That means there is somebody who is dominating somebody. That is one voice that we come across here. Another, he is the poet. Another, he is the poet. That is our W.H. Auden, who, through irony, presents a different view. Through irony, to making criticize, to making this bitter criticize, he presents his viewpoint. So the title alludes to the unknown soldier for whom monuments of different kinds are built by every nation. In a way, the title can also be taken place like the unknown soldier, because here there are some allusions, there are some examples which say that there is a connection with this poem. Somehow it links with, it connects with the soldier. Didn't I say that? Yes. So the title can also be like the unknown soldier. And don't write that in your exam. The title is the unknown citizen, but you as a critic, you can also say that the unknown soldier. Okay. And because the unknown soldier reference is made here, and for whom only monuments of different kinds are built by every nation. And don't you think so? When we read this poem, when we understand the poem, the first thing come into our mind is the soldier, because soldier is the one who sacrificed his life for the nation. But how do we remember his the sacrifice, his contribution to the nation? It is only by building a monument of different kinds of built by every nation. Once he sacrificed, how do we remember? We call them as Mataya, Thatmaru, and we build a monument with the different kinds built by every nation. And is it the only identity of such a great person? Then how are we going to adore him? How are we going to celebrate? How are we going to remember this soldier, the common man? So probably in a way, W.H. Harden is talking about the modern man's plight. Okay, and so there are alternative questions which are also given in after this text. I tell you some questions. For example, the you have this question, a direct question, that it discusses the poem as an attack on modern society, for which you can write the entire the poem, and what particular aspects of modern society are ridiculed by the poet. Okay, and after that you have this question, that are the questions at the end of the poem observed to the poet also. So these are all the important questions that come into your mind when we think about this poem. And you also talk about, oh, what do you mean by modern saint? Why does use the word old fashioned saint and all these terms? But now, this is the last criticism about the entire poem. So the criticism, probably this you can make use of for your exam point of view. So here, what is the criticism? So here, the entire poem, The Unknown Citizen, it is an attack. It's attacking the concept of a human being who is not much more than the product of all economic, commercial, and ideological pressure group. So we are treating this man as a mere, the human being, and there is no value towards such a responsible person. And then, here, the Arden, he picturizes the entire social condition, and he's bring out the essential qualities of a citizen and in this materialistic world. So here Arden is projecting his fear about the middle class, the factory workers existence. So in a way there is also another approach that Harden, he is projecting his fear about a middle class, the factory workers existence, how far their existence, how far their living will be controlled by, sustained by themselves. In this condition they can perform the duty as long as they're they're healthy, as long as they're fine. But once this man has started suffering from any kind of problem, or could be financial conditions, who is there for the responsible? Because there are many workers who are left in the lurch. They're left in the lurch because the government or any kind of organization, they could not withstand. Because because in India we have many government sectors where the private sector, where an individual can earn his living, and he can enjoy, he can lead his life a decent life. But there are western country where the government will never come to rescue for any individuals. And in a way you should also aware of that. You should also aware of that there are countries, I mean, I'm talking about the holistic of the entire globe, the problems. Because here Hardens is not only talking about the problem that they face in the western point of view, and he's also talking about the entire the globe. So what happened, such people, does government come to the rescue of such common people? So indirectly he's also talking about the conditions of the factory workers. So the poem can still serve as a warning against the social pressure of a mass society. And everywhere, it could be a government sector or a private sector, wherever we can see that there is a pressure of mass society, there is a pressure. So how this common man, how this person, he withstand this pressure? And but Arden's diagnosis is too superficial. He's identified the conformist influence but seems unaware of the huge conflicts, and he's aware of the modern predicament questions of the modern, social, economic, and urban lifestyle. But what are the solutions? What are the solutions? How does you diagnose this? How do we find the solution for all the problems? How are you going to get the solution for all the problem that a man facing? Probably, when there'll be a classes on start from 19th 20 21 till 25th at Karnataka State Open University in the headquarters. There'll be face-to-face classes, the personal classes, and will be conducted. Offline class will be conducted. I wish all of you will come and attend the classes, and we can have an interaction about these things, because there are some literary texts which are there to negate, which are there to come to a logical end to the problems. When there are like-minded people, when there are people with concern, can think about it. So further, the last line is, this is one. So he's identified the conformist influence, but seems unaware of the huge conflicts generated by the modern society. So unknown citizen, and he still impose on the modern pressure group. So he's still under the buckle under pressure. He's still under buckle under pressure, and he's in the same problem that he's facing. So Auden, he protests against a society which manipulates a man. I repeat, Auden, he protests against a society which manipulates man by the laws of mass commercial exploitation. So where people are, feeling the exploiting. So they are in the mass organization, the commercial exploitation, and a social research and a spying system. These are the three organizations are making a man a miserable. Which are they? One is laws of mass organization, a commercial exploitation, and a social research and spying system. Everywhere there is an eye on the man's attitudes and everything. So this kind of criticism of the killing of individual freedom and happiness that came and still comes from men of a very different viewpoint. So by telling all this, there is the questions of how far this modern society, the government, or an organization are there for the well-being or the development of the modern citizen. So, dear learners, you can put any last question that if you have, I can able to answer it. Otherwise, I put an end to this class, and this is the online platform. So I am the chairperson of English department, and whenever that you have any question, doubts, you can always talk to me during the official time between 10:30 to 5:30. I'm there to take up your calls and help you out. Any question that you have on a literary text, on any issue for that matter. But stop, sending text and clarify your doubts. You can just make a call. So I believe that this poem, that is The Unknown Citizen by W.H. Harden, and I tried my best by giving a description by the introduction and the discussion about the poem, and then after that, my concluding remarks. So all of benefited for your exam point of view, and this is the question, and in the examination will be asked for the 10 marks, so that I tell you, you can just make use of some important lines from the text, and which are very much carrying this the universal significance. They carry some universal significance and will give you the message. So I wish you good luck, and I see you tomorrow in the same class between 10:30 to 11:30. So thank you very much. I'm going to leave the session if there are no questions. So thank you, Jayashri. No, you have raised quite a few questions. Like, I appreciated, how the individual, he's responsible for, in this society and for his own growth, as well as, how does he take his, importance, responsibility to serve the greater community. So, dear students, if there are no questions, any observation that you made, I'm going to leave the questions. So, thank you very much. And then I'll take up the next paper the tomorrow. Okay. Yes. See you then.
Good morning, dear students. I hope you can see me and hear me. Am I audible and visible? I think I have already lost 7 minutes due to this technical issues. Vanajakshi Rai. Yes, sir. Okay, what about others? Okay, fine. Good morning, one and all, and welcome you for this second session. Second session of today's class. Second session of today's class. So, I dealt with two important books. That is on to this last and on liberty in the last two sessions. And now I'll move on to another important book from the same paper called Culture and Anarchy. Culture and Anarchy by Matthew Arnold. By Matthew Arnold. No, Matthew Arnold was an important Victorian critic. He was considered as an important Victorian critic. He lived in during Victorian era. The age of Matthew Arnold was the Victorian age. Was the Victorian age. It was the most glorious. It was the most glorious age in the history of England after the Elizabethan age. So after the Elizabethan age, it was the glorious age in the history of entire England. So the beginning of Victorian age is usually dated between 1832. So the age that you see, the period between 1832, the years between 1832 to 1901 is called as Victorian age in the British history because Queen Victoria ruled England during those years 1832 to 1901, and that is the reason why you have Victoria Hospital in Bangalore, because that was built during her tenure, during her time, her period. Okay, so she was the Queen of England, and it is considered as the golden age. Golden age is the history of in the history of England after Elizabethan age. After Elizabethan age, Elizabeth I was the queen who ruled England during Shakespearean era. Shakespeare lived during Elizabeth I's reign or tenure or period. Okay, the queen who died very recently was Elizabeth II. Elizabeth II. So she died last year, isn't it? So it's a very crucial age because it is one of the most wonderful age in the human history. An age when England was sowing her future, and reaping her past. Reaping means to cut, harvest, and sowing her future. Sow means bittane madodu, sowing her future. Very, very crucial age in the history of world because England, which was called as a country where sun never sets, which had colonies all over the world. Okay, from Japan to America, England had colonies all over the world. So it was called country which was called as a country where sun never sets because it had colonies all over the world. So you can see the impact of England, the rule in England, the Victorian rule in England having an impact on the colonies also. On the colonies also. That is the reason why it's called as an in golden age in the history of the world. It's in the history of not only England, in the history of the world. Because during that time, England was sowing her future and reaping her past. And reaping her past. So England struggled hard through a turbulent ocean of social, economic, and political upheavals. So there were so many changes happening politically, economically, socially in England. So upheavals and readjustments and gradually emerged as the greatest and most prosperous country in the world. country or the nation in the world. So that was the golden era in British history, because England emerged as the most prosperous, victorious, a great country or nation in the world. Okay, the age was characterized by improved standards of decency and morality. A self-satisfaction engendered, a self-satisfaction engendered by a great sense of increase of wealth, of prosperity, the prosperity of the nation as a whole, and the immense industrial and scientific development, and an unquestioned acceptance of authority and orthodoxy, and orthodoxy. People became rich in England. People became rich. There was prosperity everywhere. There was prosperity everywhere, and nobody challenged what? Nobody challenged the authority, the Queen. Nobody had any right to challenge the Queen Victoria during that. So the period was such that nobody had the dareness or courage to challenge the authority and orthodoxy. Orthodoxy means religious centers like churches, okay, church and other places. So people associated with church and authority were unquestioned. So you should also look into the social condition, the scientific development, industrial revolution, industrial revolution. Okay, scientific development paving way for industrial revolution. And what is the impact? The impact is people lost interest in so many issues. Industrial revolution, expansion of the British Empire. So expansion of British Empire, military power. So military wise, when it comes to military power, England was a superpower at that time. Okay, increased. There was an increase in the population of England because of prosperity. Okay, again England saw a huge surge in the population of England. Okay, so expansion of education and science, social justice and peace, religion and science. Age was orthodoxic and conventional, had respect for the past. The literary scene, in literary scene, we had poets like Tennyson and Browning, and also some of the great novelists like Jane Austen and Charles Dickens, Bronte sisters. Okay, Bronte sisters were also living in that era. So it was a crucial age, an important age in every sphere of life. So this is the background. This is the background of the condition, the setup, the background setup. So what made Matthew Arnold to write a book called Culture and Anarchy? So, so very very important book. When it comes to it acts as a lamp, guiding lamp for all the for all the other forms of literature, which emerged later. And life and works of Matthew Arnold. Matthew Arnold was born in December 1822 at the Thaleside village of Labham near Staines. He was the son of a famous famous headmaster of rugby, and he was appointed as inspector. He was appointed as inspector of schools. We call in India we call them as board education officers. So during that time, he worked as Matthew Arnold worked as an inspector of schools, and he served in that position. He served for almost 35 years, 35 long years he served as inspector of schools. So Arnold, when he visited schools, when he met children in the schools, he was baffled. He was shocked. He was shocked and baffled to note that the established social and religious values and institutions were generally or gradually crumbling down, or generally and gradually crumbling down. He regretted that good old times of faith, and has passed away. ಸೊ ಐ ಹ್ಯಾಡ್ ಪಾಸ್ಟ್ ಮೀನ್ಸ್ ಜನರು ಇವಾಗ ಕಲಿಗಾಲ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತಾರೆ. ಓ ಆ ಕಾಲ ಸೂಪರ್ ಆಗಿತ್ತು. ಸೊ ಆ ಕಾಲದಲ್ಲಿ ಎಲ್ಲ ಸರಿ ಇತ್ತು. ನೀತಿ ಇತ್ತು, ಮೌಲ್ಯ ಇತ್ತು, ಮೌಲ್ಯಯುತ ಜೀವನ ಇತ್ತು. ಸೊ ಪೀಪಲ್ ಲಿವ್ಡ್ ಬೇಸ್ಡ್ ಆನ್ ಎಥಿಕ್ಸ್, ವ್ಯಾಲ್ಯೂಸ್. Even in India, in 1940s, 1930s, before independence, pre-modern era, before pre-modern era. So postmodern era started with 1960. After 1960, postmodernism as a date. So postmodernism started after 1960s. So after 1960. So before 1960, people had again, people respected each other. They gave respect for values, ethics, spirituality, religious issues, And Matthew Arnold, when he visited schools in England, due to prosperity, due to richness, and due to what peace and stability, people had lost interest on so many issues, including spirituality, including morality and values, religious ethics, values. So life was so mechanical and materialistic during those times in England. So life had become mechanical and materialistic. So whatever that you see in India now, experiencing now in India, was experienced by the people of England long back. So when you get prosperity, richness, there won't be scope for what values. There won't be scope for ethics in life. Isn't it? If somebody meets with an accident on the road, only a few people rush to save that fellow. Most of the people, majority of the people will be moving in their vehicles without even noticing what has happened there. Because all of us are busy in our life. We don't even have time to look into the issue, what has exactly happened on the road, who has met with an accident. The person who has met with an accident might be from our own family. Who knows? We might be not aware of. We don't even get down from the car and see who is that person who has met with the accident. Because majority of us are busy in our own materialistic and mechanical lifestyle. Isn't it? So this situation was there existing during the time of Matthew Arnold. And Matthew Arnold, should not forget, worked as what? Board education officer. Like he worked as an inspector of schools for 35 long years. So when he visited the schools, he was shocked to see the students. The reply of students were baffling to Matthew Arnold. So he criticized Christianity as a static and spent up force. Spent up force means ಖರ್ಚಾಗಿರ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಶಕ್ತಿ. ಸೊ ಕ್ರಿಶ್ಚಿಯಾನಿಟಿ ಧರ್ಮವಾಗಿ ಅಷ್ಟು ಚಲನಾಶೀಲವಾಗಿಲ್ಲ ಅಂತ. He feels that church, religious institution like church and people associated with church are not active. They are stable, static. It's not active. People associated with church or religious institution are not doing their job properly. So even when it comes to religious wise, Christianity is dead. Christianity is dead according to Matthew Arnold in the text. So he criticizes Christianity as a static and spent of force. For him, religion must be dynamic, not static. He feels that Christianity as a religion must be dynamic, not ಸ್ಟ್ಯಾಟಿಕ್, ನಾಟ್ ಸ್ಟ್ಯಾಟಿಕ್. ಸ್ಟ್ಯಾಟಿಕ್ ಆಗಿ ಇರೋದು ಅಂದರೆ ಚಲನಶೀಲವಾಗಿಲ್ಲದೆ ಇರೋದು. ಟು ಬಿ ಸ್ಟ್ಯಾಗ್ನೆಂಟ್. Okay, so like stagnant water breeds reptiles. ಚಲನಶೀಲ ಇಲ್ಲ ಚಲನಶೀಲತೆ ಇಲ್ಲದೆ ಇರುವಂಥ ನೀರು ಹುಳ ಉಪ್ಪಟೆಗಳಿಗೆ ಜಾಗ ಕೊಡುತ್ತೆ. ನೀರು ಪಾಚಿ ಕಟ್ಟುತ್ತೆ, ಹಸ್ರಾಗುತ್ತೆ. ಸೊ ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ಯು ಕನ್ಸಿಡರ್ ದ್ಯಾಟ್ ವಾಟರ್ ಆಸ್ ಯೂಸ್ಫುಲ್ water? No. So religion should not be static. It should be it should be flowing. It should be progressive. It should be progressive, flowing, not static. It should be dynamic. It should be dynamic. So, so Arnold through this book wanted to give a message. Matthew Arnold, through this book wants to give a message. What is that book? So, what is that message he wants to give? Arnold has a message to give to humanity. To humanity, what is that message? His twofold mission of life was first to tell good people to be beautiful. So his intention behind writing this book was to make to make good people beautiful. Okay, and then to entreat beautiful people to be good. So he want beautiful people, physically looking beautiful people, to be good. Okay, his purpose was to discover truth in the form of beauty. His purpose was to discover truth in the form of beauty, sweetness, and light. This was his definition of true culture. So there is a need of what? Sweetness and light. Sweetness in character, sweetness in behavior. Okay, and light, you should be a guiding force. Okay, light. Okay, at the same time, Arnold has written few important books. His literary works are like this. Like he has written an essay, collection of essay. Again, that's called Essays in Criticism. He has also written a book called The Scholar Gypsy. The Scholar Gypsy, famous book. Okay, and also Teresis, and also Sorab and Rustum, The Study of Poetry, Discourses in America. Okay, and The Strayed Reveler and Other Poems. And he also wrote a book called Culture and Anarchy, which is a criticism of English social and political life. So the book is the criticism of the British social and political life. The political social life of British is criticized in Culture and Anarchy. This book was published in the year 1869. This book was published in the year 1869. That you should not forget. So, the making of Culture and Anarchy. So, what made him? What were the reasons? It was influenced by Cardinal Newman's idea of university. Arnold's Culture and Anarchy is certainly his most characteristic utterance, at once a masterpiece of vivacious prose, a great poet's great defense of poetry. You can call it as a great poet's great defense of poetry. Vivacious prose, a profoundly religious book, and the finest apology. This book can be called as the finest apology for education in the English language. The finest apology, okay, for education in the English language. Matthew Arnold once said that unless a man has spiritual and aesthetic values, education can never make him civilized. And to prove this, he wrote Culture and Anarchy. So you need what? You need spiritual and aesthetic values. Only education cannot infill or cannot infuse ethics or values in life. So if you want ethics and values in life, you have to you have to start respecting what aesthetic, human, moral, religious, spiritual values in life. Matthew Arnold, okay, also influenced was also influenced by Victorian age, which witnessed unprecedented progress in all the branches of life. It was an industry. It was an age of material affluence. It was an age of material affluence, political awakening, democratic reforms, industrial and mechanical progress, scientific advancement, social unrest, and all pervasive futility or intensity of life. So he, along with John Ruskin and Carlyle, Carlyle, denounced with severest attack in no unmistakable words, all the external glitter of material affluence and mechanical progress. This is what you see in the book. He criticizes the material affluence and mechanical progress. So man has started to worship the God of richness. So you have means people have started to give importance to money, property, material things, and comforts in life. They don't have values. They hardly give respect for values these days. That is what he felt. So there, it was an age of mechanical progress. It was an age of mechanical progress. The disease, this is what you see in the book. The disease of the age, according to Matthew Arnold, is that the people are marching towards. Yes, is he a critic of English society? Yes, as I told you, the book itself is a criticism of the social, political, economical life of England. Again, Victorian England. The book is a criticism of social, political, economical condition of England during Victorian age. Got it? So the disease of the age is that the people are marching towards industrial progress, where again progress and marching towards material heaven at the cost of spiritual heaven, at the cost of spiritual heaven. You and me, we are all behind making money, minting money. We are all behind making money, money, buying property, buying cars, okay, leading affluent, happy life, leading comfortable life, buying costly cars, costly products, okay, is a sign of modernity, is a sign of high stature, is a sign of class life. That is what we feel, which is wrong according to Matthew Arnold. So people have given up such life, they have given up property, they have given up their assets and have gone in search of salvation or gone in search of ಮೋಕ್ಷ. ಜೀವನದಲ್ಲಿ ಆಸ್ತಿ ಅಂತಸ್ತು ಸಂಪಾದನೆ ಮಾಡೋದೇ ಗುರಿ ಅಲ್ಲ. ಸೊ ಮೇಕಿಂಗ್ ಪ್ರಾಪರ್ಟಿ, ಮನಿ, ಅಸೆಟ್ is not the goal of an individual. What exactly is the goal of an individual? To find peace, to find moksha, to find happiness. With even with money, if you can't sleep properly, what is the use of having so much of money? It's of no use. So these basic issues are very, very important, very, very basic points. This basic knowledge is very much important for you all to, again, to understand and to realize and to follow it in real life. So as I told you, industrialization and its consequent materialism have killed the soul of man. Have killed the soul of man. Man has lost his true hearing. His true hearing in life. He has no aim. He has no aim, no purpose in life. No aim, no purpose in life. And the struggle of the age, according to Matthew Arnold, as Matthew Arnold understood it, lays between the powers of making of making what? Of making for again intellectual, for making intellectual liberty, and those advocating moral discipline. Okay, hence here in this book it critically exposes the values destroyed by materialism and attempts to show how it can be revived, by the sweetness and light, of the culture. So it is the role of the culture. What exactly is culture? So having money, having property, but do not again, but not having proper mannerism. Again, mannerism, your behavior, your attitude, your characteristics, your approach to life is decided by what? Is decided by the culture that you follow, the culture that you adopt in life. Sanskara. Culture ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಸಂಸ್ಕೃತಿ ಅಲ್ಲ, ಸಂಸ್ಕಾರ. ಸೊ ಜೀವನದಲ್ಲಿ ನಿಮಗೆ ಹೇಳಿಕೊಟ್ಟಿರುವ ಸಂಸ್ಕಾರ, ನಿಮ್ಮ ಹಿರಿಯರು, ಗುರು ಹಿರಿಯರು, your teachers, your masters, your seniors, your elders, ancestors have taught you certain sanskaras. So follow those sanskaras, which are very much important to revive this spiritual, moral or religious loss that we have experienced for all these years. So I hope you are getting what I am again, what exactly Matthew Arnold wants to say through this book. So Arnold's view of culture as involving what? Involving such characteristics of beauty, intelligence, perfection is a Neoplatonic one. That is, it tends to assume that these values exist in the abstract, in theory, rather than in reality, or the same for all human societies. So these values are very much there in theory, but can we or have we brought them into practice? We might teach, we might preach, so people might sit in matas, in ashramas, and preach for long hours, okay, giving so many what speaking on so many concepts of life, okay, giving so many tips for people to follow in life. So have we succeeded in following whatever that is there in theory, in adopting whatever that is there in theory in action? Have we bought those issues which are their values, which are there in theory in action? No, not at all. So his argument is openly political. That is, he feels that if more people will share and pursue is the notions of beauty, truth, and perfection of culture, that the world will be a better place. So he has given three important points, that is beauty, truth, and perfection. If you follow all these three points of culture, three issues of culture, that the world will be a beautiful place. Beauty doesn't contain in physical appearance. Beauty also means inward beauty. A jasmine will be having an inward beauty, okay, internal beauty, whereas a rose will be having an external beauty. Can we experience or feel the external beauty of rose? We can only see and enjoy. But if you want to feel it, you have to smell the fragrance of what? Fragrance of jasmine. You have two examples, jasmine on one side and rose on the other side. Beauty, perfection, and truth are the three major issues, three major points for human perfection, for for attaining culture, to make, in order to make this world a better place, we have to follow these 3 points: beauty, inward beauty, not external beauty, following, adopting truth as the basic mantra in life, and trying to be perfect, trying to be perfect in every sphere of life, trying to be individually perfect. Again, achieving perfection is what we have to aim at, what we have to try and achieve. Okay, so religion, according to Arnold, in saying the kingdom of God is within you, is within you. So ಬಸವಣ್ಣ ಹೇಳಿದ ಹಾಗೆ, ಸೊ ನ ಶಿರವೇ ದೇಗುಲ ಕಾಲೆ ಕಂಬ, ಆ, ಎನ್ನ ಆ, ಶಿರವೇ ದೇಗುಲ ಕಾಲೆ ಕಂಬ ಎನ್ನ ಸ್ವರ್ಣ ಕಳಸವಯ್ಯ, ಆ ಪದ್ಯದಲ್ಲಿ, ಸಾರಿ, ಆ ವಚನದಲ್ಲಿ ತುಂಬ ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿ ಹೇಳ್ತಾರೆ. ಸೊ ಡೋಂಟ್ ಗೋ ಇನ್ ಸರ್ಚ್ ಆಫ್ ಗಾಡ್ ಟು ತಿರುಪತಿ, ಕಾಶಿ, ಮಕ್ಕಾ, ಮದೀನಾ. ಸೊ ಗಾಡ್ ಈಸ್ ವಿದಿನ್ ಯು. ಸೊ ಇಫ್ ಯು ಡೂ ಗುಡ್ to others, if you lead a life based on values, based on ethics, and do good to others, that's the life, that's the life, that's the life one can, means one can feel, one can enjoy or rejoice with. So means you can find God within you by serving for the cause of others, by serving the cause of others. So religion, in saying the kingdom of God is within you, echoes the aim of culture, which describes human perfection as an inner condition. Human perfection is an inner condition. No man is born perfect. That is what Plato says. ಯಾವುದೇ ಮನುಷ್ಯ ಹುಟ್ಟ ಪರ್ಫೆಕ್ಟ್ ಆಗಿರೋಲ್ಲ. ದೈಹಿಕವಾಗಿ, ಮಾನಸಿಕವಾಗಿ ಏನಾದರೂ ಒಂದು ನ್ಯೂನತೆ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. Isn't it? So you might be physically or mentally, you might be having some loopholes or some handicaps. Isn't it? So Plato, according to Plato, no man is perfect. So if you want to achieve human perfection, what you have to do, you have to think that the God is within you. The God is within you. ದೇವರು ನಿನ್ನಲ್ಲೇ ಇದ್ದಾನೆ. Start behaving like God. Treat all the creatures of God equally. So treat the fellow beings, the fellow people, the human beings, other creatures of God equally. Okay, culture makes us rise above our animal nature and assert our humanity. Why human beings are called civilized creatures? Human beings are called civilized creatures because we have culture. If somebody blames you or calls you or tags you as cultureless fellow, it's a derogatory, it's not a slang, it's a curse on you. In a society, if somebody calls you as sanskara illada manushya andre, adu nimige agauruva. Does it fetch you honor or respect? No. So again, like culture makes one rise above our animal stature. So human beings are called as civilized creatures, not as beasts, because we are all living in civilized cultured, so culture, again, civilized cultured society. Isn't it? So ಸಂಸ್ಕಾರ ಇರುವ ಸಮಾಜ, ನಾಗರಿಕತೆ ಇರುವ ಸಮಾಜದಲ್ಲಿ ಬದುಕ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀವಿ. So culture directs that harmonious development of all the faculties which enhance human dignity and worth. So culture enhances human dignity and also worth. And so at the same time, we should not forget that we are no man is an island. We cannot live like an island. Human beings cannot again think of living in a forest alone, secluded life in isolation. No, you can't live like that. You can't lead a life like ancient mariner who suffers from isolation. Isn't it? Because we should not forget that we are all living in a society. Society equals what? Civilization. Society equals what? Culture. So no man is an island. Culture and perfection it brings are not just for all, for society. So whatever that the perfection or the culture that you have imbibed from society, from people, ancestors, It is not meant for you. It's also meant for the benefits of all. For the benefits of all. So why Kalam? Abdul Kalam is liked by majority of the people because Abdul Kalam led such a life, led such a perfect culture. Means a man of values, high values. Abdul Kalam was considered as a man of high values, who respected values, isn't it? That is the reason why he was considered as a people's president. He was considered as people's president. Culture had an important function to fulfill in the 19th century, which described by Thomas Carlyle, as the mechanical age. So 19th century was called as a mechanical age by Thomas Carlyle. The attitude of mind that developed the age of science and materialism ran counter to the aims upheld by culture. So the attitude of the people, the material, mechanical lifestyle that the people of England experienced during that era ran. It gave an encounter, means it ran again countering the culture. Okay, countering the culture, the aims upheld by the culture. Faith in machinery was again, according to Matthew Arnold, is our besetting danger. So people have started to depend on technology for everything, isn't it? Too much dependence on technology is also bad according to Matthew Arnold. So faith in machinery, technology is our besetting danger. Is our besetting danger according to Arnold. The machine had become a deity, has become a deity. We have started to worship machines. We start to worship means ಆಯುಧ ಪೂಜಾದಲ್ಲಿ ನಾವು ಕಾರು ಫ್ರಿಜ್ಜು ಟಿವಿ ಓಕೆ ಬೈಕು ಎಲ್ಲ ವರ್ಷಿಪ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀವಲ್ವಾ ಸೊ ಮ್ಯಾನ್ has started to worship machines. There is no respect for culture values. According to Arnold, the machine has become a deity, the be all and end all of life. So we have started to feel that. So gaining material things, buying cars, buying refrigerator, buying TV, buying all the comforts of life is the aim of all of us. So, but according to him, the machine has become a deity, the be all and end all of life. People did not realize. People have not realized that the machine is only the means. Is only the means to an end. Is only the means to an end and not the end at all. And not the end at all. ಜೀವನದಲ್ಲಿ so you should have respect for values, should have respect for human values, humanity. So don't just think of money, property, machines, car, comforts of life. So you cannot just say that you can be happy or you can attain perfection just with money and just with buying car and other things. So Arnold was shocked to find that England had become a hotbed of politics, lawlessness and disorder. There was complete anarchy when it comes to perfection, human perfection and respect towards culture or values. So there was complete disorder, anarchy, lawlessness and anarchy prevailed in England. Materialism was on the increase and people started to worship Mammon, 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 the goddess of richness. The goddess of richness. So again, Mammon, they started to adore the god of richness, okay, object of adoration. Religion and spirituality were weighed down. Religion and spirituality were weighed down. Matthew Arnold felt that this sorry state of affairs, this sorry state of affairs could be redeemed by culture. Only culture has the capacity or has the potentiality to to redeem these again sorry state of affairs that you see in England. So prevailing in England, let it be in India also. Even in India, at present situation, people hardly have respect towards values or cultures, so which is quite necessary in the present age. So in his own characteristic manner, he asserted that culture was the only way out. Culture was the only way out for the barbarians, Philistines, and populace. So barbarians means who are barbarians? Barbarians means people who adopt violence, as a means to achieve something. Okay, and also what do you mean by Philistines? Who hardly care the good, for good art or music, or literature, and do not think that they are important. So Philistines are the people who do not care or give importance for fine arts, or even including literature. So it is own characteristic. It in his own characteristic manner, in his own characteristic manner. Again, Arnold asserts that the culture is the only way out, for the barbarians and Philistines, and populace means majority of the people, to come out of such a problem, to come out of such a problem. So culture, he says, goes beyond formal systems of thought and institutions. So culture rejects all that stands in the way of what should be single-minded search for sweetness and light. So culture rejects all that stands in the way what should be a single-minded search for search for sweetness of light. So the faith in machinery and other forms of material well-being breeds hatred and what? Covetousness. What do you mean by covetousness? Jealousy. Covetousness. Covetousness means jealousy. So people, no, that's quite natural. When there is huge disparity or gap between rich and poor, when the other people are enjoying the comforts of life, and you on the other side living in a hut, not even having basic amenities of life. So what would be the state of condition? Mental approach. The mental approach normally would be that you'll be having hatred, you'll be having jealousy towards such people. It's quite normal to have such uh, such a state of mind. Culture, on the contrary, spreads or diffuses sweetness and light. The golden ages of history, according to Matthew Arnold, are those where there is natural glow of life and thought, when an entire nation is sensitive to the noblest forms of thought and beauty, to the noblest forms of thought and beauty. I repeat, the golden ages of history are those where there is natural glow of life, the natural glow of life and thought, when an entire nation is sensitive to the noblest forms of thought and beauty. So people living in a nation, have to be sensitive for values. So according to Matthew Arnold, so what does he says? The men of culture are the apostles. Apostles means enthusiastic champions. The men of culture are the apostles. APOSTLES. Apostles means enthusiastic champions. So the men of culture are the apostles of equality, not in a political sense, but in a moral and spiritual sense. They spread the best knowledge, rescuing it from the fanaticism, rescuing it from fanaticism and dogmaticism, and then by their sympathy and compassion and tolerance inspires service. So what do you mean by fanaticism and dogmaticism? So fanaticism means a behavior or opinion to be very much again which is very much extreme. A behavior or an opinion which is very much extreme is called fanaticism. So even dogmaticism means the same. So we have to come out of such a thought. We cannot be dogmatic or again fanatic when it comes to certain issues. The men of culture are the apostles of equality, not in a political sense, but in a moral and spiritual sense. You have a best example of Swami Vivekananda. Swami Vivekananda, the youth icon of India, Swami Vivekananda is the best example for upholding spiritual, religious, cultural, ethical, and cultural values of India. So the Hinduism of Vivekananda was different from the Hinduism that you see today. Vivekananda never excluded other people from Hinduism. He believed in inclusive ideology. So Vivekananda's Hinduism was completely different. His idea of Hinduism was different. So Vivekananda is the best example. In India, you can call him as an apostle or the champion, enthusiastic champion of upholding our culture. Isn't it? So what do you mean by dogmatic again? People whose opinion according to them is always right. People who think that their opinion is always right, you can call them as dogmatic. So uh, coming to the last section of the text, again, let me conclude. Here in the last section, 1 minute. Arnold speaks about Hellenism. Hellenism is to see things as they are. To see things as they are. Hebraism to see good. To see good in conduct and obedience. To see good and conduct and obedience. Hebraism, Hellenism, and according to Matthew Arnold, right thinking and right acting both are motivated by the desires of the body. So right thinking and right acting both are motivated by the desires of the body. Great the great benefactors are such men of wisdom whose humanized knowledge, who make it universally available, who strive for the diffusion of sweetness and light and make reason and the will of good prevail. So people like this greatest benefactors are such men of wisdom whose humanized knowledge, who humanize knowledge, who make it universally available, who strive for the diffusion of sweetness and light and make again diffusion means diffusion. Diffusion means to spread lightness and sweetness. Okay, and make reason to spread light and sweetness and make reason and the will of God prevail. So, and Arnold in his Culture and Anarchy defends culture against anarchy. So, with these key issues on culture and anarchy, I conclude the text and If you have any doubt regarding any issue that I dealt with on this particular text, you can ask questions in the comment box. Hmm? You can ask questions in the comment box. If you have any question regarding this particular text, I gave you an elaborated, detailed background explanation. Along with that, I also gave you a brief introduction of Arnold. I also spoke about the influence, what all influenced Matthew Arnold to take up such a topic for writing like culture topic on culture and anarchy and the prevailing conditions, socio-economic and political conditions, what all forced him, tempted him to write a book on culture. So, and at the same time, I also spoke about the importance of culture, values, and other aspects of life. If you have any doubt, you can ask questions in the comment box. I still have 2 more minutes left. I hope you all understood the essence of this text, what exactly Arnold wants to convey. It's not easy to understand these texts. Aims of culture is to infuse values in you. Ways of attaining is with again human perfection, with beauty, internal beauty, human perfection, with truth. We can attain culture by truth, beauty, and perfection. I hope you got the answer, Jayashree. I still have 1 more minute. Who is this Unajakshi Rai? What EIS? What is it? Please reply. Please respond if there are any questions. So aims of culture is preservance of what preserving what values. Distinguish culture and religion. Religion is different from culture, but normally we people think that it is from religion we imbibe culture, but we don't imbibe religion. Sorry, culture from religion. No, not at all. But most of the people think that we attain samskara from Sanskriti, sanskara from religion. I know it is connected, but I've seen people who are atheists who don't even follow religion and God, but still they are culturally good enough. Means you can they are so human. They can, you don't need to be human. You don't need to be religious. To be human, you don't need to be religious. Got it? To be human, you don't need to be religious. If you want to adopt values in life, do you read values from Bhagavad Gita? Again, have we included or imbibed values in life from Bhagavad Gita? No. Again, yes, absolutely. If you read some Vedas, Bhagavad Gitas, or some holy scriptures, you do imbibe some good qualities. But doesn't mean that an atheist uh, ನಾಸ್ತಿಕರು ನಾಸ್ತಿಕರಿಗೆ ದೇವರ ಮೇಲೆ ನಂಬಿಕೆ ಇರುವುದಿಲ್ಲ, ಧರ್ಮದ ಮೇಲೆ ನಂಬಿಕೆ ಇರುವುದಿಲ್ಲ. ಆದರೆ ನಾಸ್ತಿಕರಲ್ಲಿ ಮಾನವೀಯ ಮೌಲ್ಯಗಳು, ಗುಣಗಳು ಇರಲ್ಲ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಕ್ಕಾಗಲ್ಲ. ಓಕೆ, ಸೊ ಐ ಡೋಂಟ್ ಎಂಡೋರ್ಸ್ or don't connect religion with culture. Religion is a different entity which is very, very vast. The goal of culture is to preserve values, preserve again ethics, okay, preserve humanity, human values. So there are so many types of values: spiritual, moral, ethical, religious values also. So many types of values. So we imbibe culture. From culture, we imbibe values. Respecting elders is a value which you have imbibed through culture, which you have inherited from culture, from your elders. I am trying to give you some day-to-day simple examples. Study in pursuit of perfection. Culture is a study in pursuit of perfection. Yes. So we all again strive hard to be perfect. So by being perfect, we can attain culture. Culture and perfection, human perfection, is go hand in hand. So what do you mean by attaining perfection? Perfection means, whom do you call a perfect man? One who doesn't have weaknesses, weaker qualities. So culture means one who is not barbaric, one who is not inhuman, one who is noble, inwardly noble, physically good, mentally, internally good. Okay, so one who is perfect in every sense. Naturally, you'll be having you'll be respecting values or humanity. So culture as nexus. So if you want to attain perfection, you need culture. In pursuit of perfection, yes, you need culture to
Good afternoon, everyone. Hope I am audible enough. Yeah, in this session, I am going to talk about the return of the native by Thomas Hardy, one of the best known novel and one of the best novel ever written in the history of English literature. Am I audible? I need response from the students. Am I audible? Yeah, in this session, I'm going to deal with the novel, very well written novel and well known novel by Thomas Hardy, The Return of the Native. And according to Aristotle, let me start with how the story is very important. And according to Aristotle, the plot is the soul of a tragedy. And plot is a story which is well organized so as to focus on a particular theme. And this makes it necessary for the novelist to include or exclude, insert or add date and post-date events so that the structure becomes firm and solid enough to serve this purpose. So I. Crompton Burnett, he also remarks that a plot is the bone of a person. Plot means the story is important and it is not like a bone in our body of a person, and which is not, if at all, if it is not interesting like expression or signs of experience, but but still that how it supports the whole body, like even stories also supports the whole novel. And E.M. Foster, he also refers to a difference between a story and a plot, and he insists on the law of causality, and this law of causality is emphasized by Aristotle when he says that succession of episodes or acts without probable or necessary sequence makes the plot episodic or flawed. And Hardy's own position on this issue is a valuable asset. And he says that the secret of fiction and the drama in the constitutional part, and somewhat like this is the secret of fiction as well as in the drama is somewhat like a constitutional part. So which lies in the adjustment of things unusual to those things eternal and universal. So here is a subtle, I can say very simple, very subtle suggestions about Hardy's use of chances and coincidences. Normally, Hardy deals with, especially Hardy's novels deals with these chances and incidences and coincidences throughout their story. So, which happen unusually, apparently affecting the law of causality. Again, are you facing the problem? Am I clear now? Am I audible? Am I audible? Hope I am audible now. Hope I am audible now. Let me mute my video. So if I switch off my video, at least hope I am audible enough. Yeah. If you are following what I'm saying now, and in this session I told you that I'm going to talk about Thomas Hardy's The Return of the Native. Okay, this is from Hardcore, sorry, yeah, Hardcore 2.2. Yesterday also I took I discussed with some novel from the same session, from the same course. And in this session also, I am going to take about some new novel, but from the same course, Hardcore 2.2, Block 4, Thomas Hardy, The Return of the Native. Yeah, maybe normally this video consumes a lot of data, that's why sometimes it won't work. Audio is not, audio will get sometimes some get interrupted because of this. Yeah, since we are facing this network issues, internet issues, I'm switching off my video and hope I'm audible enough and you are following. Yeah, this is very interesting novel. As I told you that Thomas Hardy's novels deals with chances and coincidences, and the whole novel, this especially the novel, The Return of the Native, is depending upon or is constructed on this important concept, that is chances and coincidences. And normally Hardy is well known for portraying so many characters, and simply saying that this novel is a fictional story, it has a fictional story that revolves around the many characters like Klim Yobright and his mother Mrs. Yobright and his female cousin Miss Thompson Yobright. Okay, and another character like Vildiv, he is actually a villainous character, and Eustacia Y, she is a very, what I can say, lust woman and wily woman or greedy woman. and Digriven. He is the Riddle man turned dairy owner at the end of the novel, who is also an honest man and a constant lover of. So, as I told you, that this novel is a story which revolves around so many characters, starting with Klimbright till the end of Riddleman. Okay, so Klimbright. Um, Hope you're it's not problem for you if I switch off the video, because what I teach you is very very important, and this is helpful for your study. And since this is a very interesting novel, I don't want to cut short my discussion, and neither I wish to deviate from the topic. And if you have any doubts regarding this novel, please drop me a message at the end of my lecture. So, as I told you, that there are many characters you have to be thorough with, because there are many minor characters, they also play a vital role, a very powerful role in this novel. And as I told you, King Lowbright is the son of Mrs. Yobright, and who had been in Paris managing a diamond cutter's farm, and he comes back to his native place at Dunheath. Please note down, this place is very important, because Thomas Hardy is considered as a novelist of a region. Like in Indian writing, we have Raja Rao and even R.K. Narayan. They all, because they give importance to the region or place or the setting of their novel on which they have developed their novel on. Okay, here Hardy is also like that. Egdon, this is a place, and how he personifies this place in this novel is very important. And this is a native place of so many other characters, and this place influences the characters so strongly in this novel, and you'll get to know when you listen to the story and when you read yourself the story as well. And in order to be thorough with all these things, you have to go back to the text. Then, and this claim, you're right, all these years he had been in Paris, he was in Paris, and he was on some business, and he wants to get back to his native Egdon Heath. And he also decides to spend the rest of his life in teaching in school. Uh, he wanted to set up in his native. So, on the other hand, William, I told you, he is a villainous character in this novel. William and Eustacia, why they had an affair. Okay, but as Eustacia hates Egdon Heath, the place where she lived and where she was born, she switches her loyalty over to Klim, because earlier she was in love with William. But she comes to know that if she marries William, she has to be in her native place only, which she doesn't like. She wants to uh, raise her position, and she wants to go away from this native. That's why she shows her gratitude, and she starts showing her true love towards Kim Yo, right? And is waiting that after her marriage, Kim will definitely he would take her to Paris. Okay, because since he was working in Paris in a diamond cutter's farm, and Kim's mother, Mrs. Yo, right? She had chosen Thomasin as Klim's bride, because I told you in the very beginning, Thomasin Yo bride was a cousin to Klim. So obviously, Mrs. Yobright, his mother, Klim's mother, wanted her son to marry Thomasin. But Klim becomes infatuated with Eustacia, yeah, for her saucy age. Like, she is somewhat like very posh, luxurious, and even highly colorful, always like a butterfly. And normally men follow for these butterflies, right? So Klim also, and he day by day he starts getting infatuated with Eustacia, so he forgets Thomasin, and even this is the thing which makes Klim to go against his mother's wish. What was his mother's wish? Are you following what I'm saying? Again, same problem. Oh, Hope you are listening what I'm saying now. Klim Yobright, he wants to marry Eustacia. Why? Because of her gracefulness or because of her beauty or so many things. Yeah, now no problem, no? And he, because of this, he has to go against his mom's wish, Mrs. Yobright's wish, because Mrs. Yobright wanted him to marry whom? Thomasin Yobright, right? Her niece, actually. Then what happens? Klim's in time, Klim marries Eustacia and he goes. Definitely, Mrs. Yobright never let him inside her house because he her son went against her wish. So, Klim, after marrying Eustacia, he goes to live separately as his mother is not at all happy with his marriage. So, Wilde, on the other hand, he marries Thomasin and she disregards degree when the Red man, particularly for his profession. This is somewhat like a triangle love story I told you. Actually, Eustacia, see, Klim is in love with Eustacia. Earlier, Eustacia was in love with Wilde, but in order to take revenge, Wilde marries Thomasin, whom actually Thomasin wanted to marry Klim according to Mrs. Yobright wish. Right? On the other hand, Degree, when he is the rebel man, he is in truly love with Thomasin, but Thomasin rejects his offer and she discards Degree when because of his profession. Okay, and Eustacia, she becomes unhappy on two reasons. Why? Because why Eustacia wanted to marry Klim? Because she doesn't want to live in Egdon Heath, where she was born. She wanted to go away from that place only thinking that this man Klim Yobright would take her to Paris and would give her a very posh life or luxurious flary kind of life, and that's why she even cheats. What's that character? Wildy, right? But in fact, even their marriage was not what happy. She becomes very unhappy on two reasons, because Clem's disinclination to go back to Paris, and secondly, Clem's loss of eyesight that compels him to give up his plan to set up a school and become uh, and he becomes a first cutter. Okay, first she not even gets a chance to go and settle in Paris, and even she doesn't get a very posh and promising future or life with Klim's loss of eyesight, and which compels him not to set up a school but to become a first cutter. And their status will remain what reserved to the middle class family. So frustrated, she again started having an affair with her former lover, who is that? Billy. Okay, are you listening? Can you able to hear me now? Or again, are you facing the same problem? Again, voice is not clear. Oh God. Hope I am audible now. Am I audible? Yeah, I was talking about Eustacia, how Eustacia renews her affair with Wilde because of two reasons I told you, right? And because one claims inclination to go back to Paris and settle down there. And secondly, Kim's loss of eyesight that also compels him to not to open the school in native, but to become a first cutter. And because of this, she started having an extramarital affair with William. And one night, that Eustacia selected to flee from Egdon Heath for Paris in connivance with William, but she falls into a wayside stream and will leave her companion to plunges into the stream in order to save her. As chances have it, Diggory and Kim, who were spying on them, they also jumps into the stream. And when they recovered Eustacia and William, they were no longer breathing. See, that's what I told you. This Egdon Heath, the place has so much of power and influence over its people that whenever these two people, not only these two, the people wants to away from them, away from it, they have to end. They have to face this kind of circumstances, or they themselves were responsible for the destiny. What I can say. See, Eustacia and William, they wanted to fly to Paris, but what happened? They had to face their end of life on the way by stream, and they plunged into stream. And though Diggory went as well as Kim, they went to save them, but they were not able to save them. By the time they recovered, both the Eustacia and William, they were no longer breathing. So meanwhile, Mrs. Yobride had died from an adder bite in an unfortunate incident that afflicts the heart of her son Klim, which is too deeply. Because the three characters gone. One is Wildew, another one is Eustacia, and even Mrs. Yobride. She had to face, and this is what unexpected death, right? And this was somewhat like accidental. She dies from an adder bite, and which is very unfortunate incident which takes place in Kim's life, because now he lost not only his mother, but also his wife, and the three characters are gone now, and there remains Kim, Thomasin with the baby, and the Diggory man. Diggory man, earlier actually this is who is a Redding man who was in truly love with Thomasin. So Klim thinks in terms of marrying Thomasin, and for the purpose of avoiding his loneliness and for giving protection to Thomasin, his cousin and an innocent woman. Okay, actually, after the death of his mother, Klim wanted to fulfill the wish of his mother. So he wanted to give her life to Thomasin, because now she is having a small baby in her hand. Nobody is there to take care of. And this, and the two, she is very innocent and very, what I can say, sensible and sensitive woman. So he wanted to give her life. But Diggory, who has now become a dairy owner and attained a higher social status, and who has all along looked after the interest of Thomasin, he proposes to marry Thomasin, and Thomasin also agrees, without knowing that Klim wanted to marry her. So Klim's hope of getting married to or marrying Thomasin also becomes frustrated, and but he is very gentlemanly. You know that a very good natured fellow. He gives his consent to the marriage, having learned of Diggory's current social status. So the word that so long revolved around these characters is fully disintegrated now, and Klim, now a semi-blind man, decides to take up preaching to his village mates. Earlier, why does he come back to Egdon Heath? Because he wanted to open a school, right? He wanted to set up a school, and he wanted to be a teacher. But now, with a semi-blind eye and being a semi-blind man, he decides to take up preaching to his village mates. And he not only talks about religion, but also discusses secular things, religious things that often dip the villagers in difficulties. So now Klim Bright would preach from an elevated position, and the villagers gathered and sat a little below hearing Klim's word. Now he becomes somewhat like a semi-saint, okay, because who talks about religious issues and moral issues and so many other things, villagers feels it's very interesting to listen to Klim every day. So the novel thus ends not tragically, though we never get an incident of marrying uh, Klim to um, Thompson in order to fulfill his mother's wish. But still, we cannot consider this as a tragic novel in an Aristotelian sense, but in accordance with Hardy's moral vision. Definitely, the novel doesn't end happily, although we find two innocent souls tying up the knot. Who is the two innocent souls? One is Thomason and another is Digriven. Okay, tying up the knot, and the native who returned begins leading the life of recluse. And now, Kim Globright is an uncommon character. He is nowhere uncommon character now. He's a special character, special personality. He has emerged as, and as much as he learns as to how to accept reality in life and prefers an unassuming way with ambition. And he has learned the lesson that not to expect so much, right? And even one should accept the life how it comes. So, mm, and you have to bear with me because I'm trying my best to give amidst of this technical snacks. And please, like me also, you have to log out and log in. Let us see whether it works. And I was discussing about how Klim becomes a very practical man, and he emerges as a very special character in the novel because he learns that how to accept the reality of life and stop expecting from people, right? And not to be too much of expecting too much from the people, and not be so ambitious, so that he would be lonely henceforward, sadness, because he becomes lonely, right? Neither having his mother nor wife on his side. But there is an unusual resilience in the man that doesn't break him down. But though seems to be very weak in physical terms, but mentally, spiritually, he becomes very strong because every day he talks about secular things, religious things, and so on. So these few lines could give us an interesting story. But Thomas Hardy, this is the way how uniquely he has given us a quite big volume. This is because he is a novelist, and he is a regional novelist, and who seeks to incorporate in his work a criticism of life, and he takes up a wider canvas and fills it with a plethora of characters and incidents. For this purpose, Hardy has to work out a plot that would create and recreate, exclude or include, and altering the sequence and introducing chances, accidents, and coincidences that do not defy the law of probability and necessity. And this is the way Hardy portrays all the characters with so many incidents, accidents, and coincidences and chances. How these are all the part of every part of life of every human being on the earth, right? So, like Jane Austen's world, Thomas Hardy's world is not big. Yesterday, I spoke about Jane Austen's Emma, right, with you. But today, how it is different from Jane Austen's world. Hardy's world is not big; it is so small. But whereas Jane Austen deals with the mannerisms and affectations of the upper class, and especially upper middle class, and uh, aristocratic, aristocratic society within the limited zone. But Hardy's world is not confined to Wessex. Actually, how Malgudi is the setting or common place in Arken Narayan's novel. In Hardy's world, the setting of his characters of his novel is Wessex, okay, which is a rural belt with all his hillocks and heaths and woods, and whose inhabitants are mostly illiterate, cherished no ambition, and are not bothered about what happens outside their territory. So they work hard during the day and spend the evenings in the alehouses. They do not exercise reason, but are guided by emotion. And they are all Hardy's world, we have a very common people. They just want to live a very sophisticated life, like Jane Austen characters, but just a simple life. And this is what they want, what Hardy wanted us to know, wanted his readers to know, and how they work hard during the day and spend their evenings in ale houses to relax themselves. And they do not exercise reason, but are guided by emotions. They are very emotional, okay, but they're never reasonable, and they are not reasoning characters like that. So they commonly bear no grudge against God for their miseries. Normally, we blame if we have to face some problems, we blame gods and goddesses, right? But these people of Hardy's novels, Wessex or Heath, they are very simple. They never grumble or they never grudge against God for making them to toil every day and making them to face so many difficulties in their lives. Instead, they believe that once born, they will have to work and they have to suffer till they reach the cool shade of the death. So this feeling of theirs is not their well thought of philosophy, but it is their way of life. And with Thomas Hardy, finally, he has worked with these many characters in the Return of the Native, as as in the other novel, uh, like how he was in direct contact with grim reality. That's what I told you, like Daniel Defoe and so many other realistic fiction writers. Even Hardy, actually, Hardy is also influenced by the great realistic writers. That's why he wanted to portray the grim reality of the world in his fictional world or in his novels. So he could not help being pessimistic. Joys were but sparks in a notion of sorrow. But fortunately, the folk do not bother much about their sorrow and the evil circumstances they are in. They lead the life through sun and shower, caring much about why they are embroiled in misery and sorrow. And this is how that is, I think, according to me, because of this reality and because of this uh, portrayal of sorrow, pain, sun and shower, or sorrow and evil, and the dark and brightness in everyone's life, Hardy is still read and is still relevant even today. And if at all we are reading Hardy because of this, because of his grim reality, and how beautifully he has portrayed, and how especially the villagers, especially the folk of his novel, are very interesting because they never ever grumble, grudge, or they never sit quiet, or they never be feeling so sad all the time. Instead, they just don't care much about their misery or sorrow, and they think that these are a part of everyone's life. And if at all we are born in this earth, we have to face all these things. See how practical they are. So the plot of the Return of Native is not a simple tale of weal and woe. Okay, but don't think that this plot of the Return of Native is so simple. And if you go through this novel, if you read this, novel, then only you can able to find that how this is how Hardy has portrayed each and every chances or incident or coincidence, or even what options in life in a very interesting manner. So, in order to understand these, what I can say, the sensibility of a writer, you have to read this novel, because though it's a simple tale, but it starts with the complications of Clint's Yob, right? And when especially his return to the native, a native place in order to build a school, and his return disturbs the situation as he refuses to marry Thompson. The problem starts from there. At the moment he refuses to marry Thompson, the girl of her mother's choice, and falls in the clasp of the wily woman, Stacia, and who's the wily woman, Stacia, whose saucy appearances, especially her charms, grace, which mesmerize Klim Loeb, right? Okay, and how meanwhile Thompson and William were also married. Thompson having been given away in marriage by Eustacia, and William felt that his marriage with Thompson would rouse jealousy in Eustacia, but actually Eustacia feels happy as her marriage with Klim become brighter. So both of them, I told this because of their own expectations or their own jealousy, also the and even greediness, which also leads to their end, or they have to face what there is a saying, no, you have to reap what you sow. So a further complication arises when Thompson visits Mrs. Lobride for some money which she was not getting from her husband William. On the evening of the day Clement and Eustacia are married, William comes to Mrs. Lobride to take some articles of Thompson for her use. And William did not know that Thompson had sent him to take from Mrs. Lobride her share of the family gains. And Mrs. Lobride, who is well aware of the nature of villainous character, William, and he sends him back saying that the article of Thompson would be sent in due course. And she doesn't give a hand over all the things which belongs to Thompson with William. She says that definitely that will be sent to Thompson when the time comes. And after William leaves, Mrs. Lobride summons Christian Cantle and gives him 2 small bags, each containing 50 guineas, and asks him to give one bag to Thompson and the other bag to Klim. And the situation gets complicated by the place of a chance and the instance of William Christian Cantle, especially this villainous character William. Christian Cantle engages in a gamble and loses all the money to William. And this chance, especially again this incident, is followed by a coincidence. What happens as the gambling was going on, Degree was watching everything from a bush, because Mrs. O'Brien hands over 2 bags to Christian Wales in order to go and give it to whom? One bag to Klim and another bag to Thompson. But in a chance, what happens? This Christian Cantle engages a gamble and loses all the money to William. And this incident was watched by who? Degree an honest man, and actually who wanted to marry whom? Degree wanted to marry Thompson, and he was watching everything from a bush side, and now he hears, he comes to know the whole matter, and he confronted William, and he won back all the money Mrs. Lobride had given Christian Cantle to give whom? Thompson and Klim. But unaware of Cantle's mission, he gave all the guineas to Thompson. Okay, this incident generates a crisis as why she receives a note of acknowledgement from Thompson. She receives none from Klim, and the plot is meanwhile complicated as Eustacia transfers her loyalty to Klim in the hope of leaving Egdon Heath and living in Paris, as Mrs. Lobride, Klim's mother, knew the nature of Eustacia, because Mrs. Lobride knew that Eustacia was in love with William, and she also had the acknowledgement. She also had the information of her affair with William, right? So that's why she disapproves their marriage. But Klim, he doesn't listen to his mother, Mrs. Lobride's decision. He goes against her mother's anguish, and he goes and he marries Eustacia, and he goes and after his marriage, he goes and started living separately. And once upon a time, Klim, who wishes to remain back in Egdon Heath and set up a school for the education for these village children, and gradually he loses his eyesight. Right, I told you. And this crisis becomes to a head, and when Mrs. Lobride comes to call Eustacia at her grandfather's house to make sure that Klim had got his share, this is Eustacia's wrathful treatment. When Mrs. Lobride wanted to really know about whether Klim had got one bag of money, because I told which she had handed over Christian Cantle to go and hand over one bag to Kim and one to Thomasin, but without knowing, he loses money on gambling business, and who recovers that money? Degree but without knowing Mrs. Yobright's words to Christian Cantle, he hands over all the money to Thomasin. But when Mrs. Yobright visits Eustatia's place in order to talk with his son Kim, and she has to face a wrathful treatment by her daughter-in-law Eustacia, and as she innocently asks Eustacia if she had received the guineas from Wildy, and Eustacia became furious, and she threw indecent remarks to Mrs. Yobright, and Mrs. Yobright's reply is very deeply grievous, and she says, "Don't rage at me, madam. I'm only a poor old woman who has lost a son." See how it is a very sentimental and highly emotional dialogue of Mrs. Yobright, and that's why how, if at all, she is addressing her own daughter-in-law, so much younger to her, like, madam. Just imagine how deeply she was hurt, and that's why she says she requests, "Don't rage at me, madam. I'm just a poor old woman who has lost a son." So this is somewhat like a indirect attack on her, whom? On her daughter-in-law. So she also leaves a message for Eustacia that if she is ever crossed with Kling, she would have to pay heavily, as though he is gentle as a child with you now, and he can be as hard as steel. And the next day, the mystery of the guineas withered. Thomasin visited Kim and handed over his share to him. Kim, who was studying hard for his project, soon he has his vision weakened, and he gives up from his mind that what was the project to set up a school in a village. So to earn his living, he takes the occupation of a purse cutter, because earlier he was working in a diamond cutter form in Paris, right? So this step of Kim terribly distresses Eustacia, and the crisis reaches the climax when Mrs. Yobright, who comes to call Kim for a reconciliation with him, which was refused entrance by a closed door. And while Kim was asleep in one room, Eustacia and Wildy were having intimate talks in the other room. So none opened the door, and the old mother started walking back home with a morose mind. And Mrs. Yobright felt so sad that, in spite of her guidance, her son, he goes and marries this Eustacia. And even after marriage, this lustful woman is still having an affair with Wildy. And this is with a heavy heart. She goes back, and on the way, she is stung by an adder, and she dies on the streets. So the rupture between Eustacia and Kim widens when Johnny Nonsuch, the minor character who narrates the whole story to Kim Yobright, and Eustacia makes an attempt to commit suicide at her grandfather's house, but by sheer chance, she doesn't become successful. After a week, Eustacia has a talk with Wildy, and who discloses that he is now a rich man and would help her to flee Egdon Heath. And it is arranged that Wildy would take her to Budmouth by carriage on a signal from Eustacia. And to make up the breach between Kim and Eustacia, he writes a letter to her, but the letter does not reach Eustacia immediately, but his grandfather, having kept the letter on the mantelpiece for the night, because instead of that letter, instead of reaching Eustacia, that letter reaches to her grandfather, and who keeps that letter somewhere. And later, what happens? His grandfather, he keeps that letter on the mantelpiece for the night, and there a negative chance also takes place, which foils the reconciliation between Kim and Eustacia. So Eustacia, she leaves the house at 11:30 in inclement weather. The chaos in nature also reflects the chaos in Eustacia's mind. See how beautifully Hardy portrays each and every incident with the help of the nature, and how there is a climate change or some chaos takes place in nature, and it also reflects the chaos in some important character. And something mishappens going to take place in somebody's life like that. And in that inclement weather, she wanted to leave. And there, we readers, we can find the chaos in nature, which also reflects the chaos in Eustatia's mind. And she now hates the idea of support from Wildev. And Klim receives information from Thompson that Wildev is preparing to go somewhere. And Thompson gives it down that why this her husband Wildev is preparing to go somewhere in this midnight. So Captain Y also appears with the news that Eustacia is missing. So Klim sets out to follow Eustatia's plan to, especially to leave Egden Heath, and Thompson too decides to follow Klim after some time. And both of them, they just wanted to follow either on the one hand, Thompson wanted to follow her husband, on the other hand, Klim wanted to follow Eustacia. So Thompson meets the ready man who accompanies her. An accident takes place at this crucial hour. What accident? That Eustacia slips into the wayside stream, and Wildev jumps into the stream to rescue Eustacia. And Klim also joins him, and even Digriven also jumps into the stream in order to rescue Klim. But the two other men also got into the pool. Wildev and Eustacia were dead. They come to know that their support, or they could not able to recover both of these. And Klim survived. And even see, this also what signals something. Only the good people, genuine people survive, right? And all of them, they jump into stream, but only who survive? Klim and Digriven. And Thompson is broken-hearted, although Wildev had not been kind to her. Innocent and very sensitive woman, and she believed that whatever her husband had done, she was literally ready to forgive him. But still, after the death of when she notices, or when she receives the news of her husband's death, and she completely breaks down. She completely breaks down. So the death of two persons of evil nature now relieves the atmosphere of the gloom. See how beautifully Hardy is portraying each and everything with the help of nature. And there are, though his world is so small, but still he is trying to give his best to the readers. Again, are you facing the same problem? Am I audible now? Hope I am audible. Am I audible? Yeah. So the death of two persons of evil nature, the two Thomasin and Wildev, which clears the atmosphere of the gloom. Those who stay back to live are also grief-stricken. Klim had lost his mother through an accident, and Eustacia through another. And Thomasin loses her husband, and she also becomes alone. While Klim plans to marry Thomasin to avoid his own loneliness, and as well as Thomasin's degree, and Thomasin re-establishes intimacy, and they plan to marry. So Klim has reservation against the marriage, as degree would not be the suitable match for Thomasin. So when he comes to know that degree had become a rich man, he gives his consent. And Klim now does three things. First, he visits the grave of his mother daily at night, and he visits the graveyard where Eustacia is eternally asleep. And thirdly, he prepares to have a new occasion. And finally, Klim settles on two ideas. One is to find a night school and act as a preacher. And on the Sunday afternoon, Klim stood on the spot on Rain Barrow where Eustacia had stood some 2 years ago, and 2.5 years ago before, and spoke on morality to a number of heathen who gathered around him. And he would lecture on the sermons on the mount every Sunday at the same place if the weather was fair. And he talked not only about religion but also on secular matters. And he became itinerant clergyman in an open air. So this is how the plot of the written of the native. The plot of this novel is structurally very impressive, and it involves a number of characters aside from the main ones who also contributed a great deal to the pleasure the novel offers. So the novel beautifully with the fascinating description of Egdon Heath, its timeless glory, its primitivism that has not been stained by the invasion of urbanity. And it is a distinct zone inhabited mostly by a peasant stock who live as they were born. Miseries and misfortunes overcrowd their life, but they take it stoically as Egdon Heath itself. So the plot unfolds the story according to a well-planned design. The arrival of the native king knew right, rolling the action in the motion, and crisis arise for various reasons. Right. So there are even Egdon Heath. I told you that it was so personified by its author, and in Hardy's novels there exists a great background. Actually, Egdon Heath forms a great background to his novels, which is vital and vivid, which matters more than people who move upon it. Against the background of dark, passionate Egdon, of the leafy, sappy passion and sentiments of the woodlands, of the unfathomed stars, is drawn the lesser scheme of lives. Hence, the return of the native, the woodlanders, or the two on a tower, and these are the novels which has this Egdon as its great background. So this is also considered as a supreme character in this novel. And what are the symbolism Hardy has used in this particular novel? So Hardy was contemporary with the critical events of 2 centuries, the second half of the 19th century and the first half of the 20th century. So in this period, modernism has been initiated, and he is considered a modernist poet and writer, kind of narration and literary approach. He seems to be subtly anti-modernist in his sixth novel, that is, The Return of the Native. So, representative of Hardy's style, as critics have pointed out for some time, that Hardy's most instinctive mode as a writer is figurative, not analytic. And he also, there is the critic of Hardy, he also says that it was at present a place perfectly accordant with man's nature. He talks about the heat as its background. So, bonfire and rainbows and Egdon Heath, these are all the symbols we can able to find in this novel. And there is, as I told you, bonfire, heat, and Klim's semi-blindness. In general, it also refers to the intellectual blindness, but as related to the theme of modernism. And the writer is against modernism if this blindness is interrupted as intellectual blindness, and how Klim had to suffer, and how Klim wanted to be a teacher, but he takes up a career as a first cutter, which is greatly attached to the land of the heath, and generally considered as uncivilized job, especially for Lusatia, doesn't deter Hardy for his judgment. Okay, and even death is also very so death also serve as an important symbol. The death of Lusatia and William may be interpreted that the heath hates these two characters and it kills everyone who resembles an enemy. And death also performs as an important symbolism in this one, and even the moon. And Thomas Hardy has portrayed like no moon, no man is a superstitious saying of which the heath folk believe in. Okay, according to Egdon Heath, folks of Egdon Heath, they believe in no moon, no man. And this is a superstitious saying of which the heath folk believe in. And which symbolizes the relationship between the moon and the man's birth to define their personality. So the perfect man may be born when the moon was full, according to their belief. Okay, only the perfect man, only the genuine personality will born when the moon is full. And according to Christian Cantle, the inept and the first gambler in the gambling scene, who proves unfortunately winner at first, was born at moonlit night. Okay, he goes on giving example and he illustrates each and everything. Okay, in the novel, and gambling also serves as one of the symbols because which is much associated with the chance, accident, and coincidences, and adventure and fate. They are determine the outcome of human human effort. He says in page number 23. So most of the characters of the novel seem to be gamblers. The writer presents starting with William and even I told you Christian Canty. They're all frivolously gamblers. So they like someone gambling with life, and of course William also, right? And he gambles with his life with Thomason and their daughter to escape the heat with Eustacia, right? To live in the unknown place. As William Eustacia gambles with her lot of life in the heat with him to adventure with William to live in a modern city, and they become the victims of their own what their own jealousy, their own gambling business, and their own living in somebody's life. And finally, the wind, the storm, and rain, they also form, and they also form important symbols of this novel, as the writer describes Egdon his relationship with the wind and storm. Then Egdon was aroused to reciprocity, for the storm was its lover, and the wind its friend. And at the end of the novel, the heath uses his lover, the storm, and his friend as the wind. And Tim is lost in the heath as the Shakespearean King Lear, lost in the wilderness. So the two heroes are mourned by the queer wind and heavy storm. And how we can make a similarity between King Lear's uh, what climax in King Lear and even the return of the native, especially how King Lear has to face the loss, and here Kim, and both the heroes are mourned by their queer wind and heavy storm inside their mind and heart. And this is all about the novel, and this is a very interesting novel. To conclude this novel, Hardy symbolizes his characters, even the setting, especially the heat, to carry the central theme of modernism. He seems to be objective when he displays his characters according to their attitude towards the heat and the modern cities, especially Paris. Eustacia, William, and Mrs. Fulbright hate the heat and love Paris, in contrast with Klim, Digriven, and Thompson, who love the heat and they prefer it as a suitable place to live in. And whoever hates the heat, they die, right? The three characters, including Mrs. Fulbright, William, and Eustacia. And who love the heat, they remain, and even they survive in the same place. And the setting is well designed to symbolize the internal conflicts and feelings of his characters. Moon and gambling are mostly regarded to fate symbolism. The weather, wind, storm, and rain accompanies the tragedy of the main characters and reflects their suffering. The rich symbolism in the novel promotes it technically to the most eminent literary works ever written by any other writer except Thomas Hardy. Yeah, any problem? You again that this is all about my lecture today. That's all for today. Audio problem, actually I told you that here we are not facing any problem. Don't worry, our lectures are recorded and you can able to revisit these sessions by using the same link, I think, or it is also available on YouTube. Please go and check in the YouTube. Okay, try to locate our lectures in the university website. Maybe it will be available, or in your case, OU student app, and you please try to locate it, or else don't worry, because in offline classes we are again going to teach the same text, and adding with some other new text, since we have to teach for 7 long days. And these offline classes will be from 19th of this month in Mysore. Please, all of you, try to visit and try to participate in this personal contact program. Thank you.